Yo, yo. I hope everybody can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, say what up in the chat. Let me know. Running solo tonight as Katie Joe is recovering from tonsil surgery or a tonsillectomy. That's what it's called, a tonsillectomy. So, um, yeah, so I'm running solo. Katie's watching though, and she will be in the chat. So we will give this a few minutes before we get going, but Andrea, hey, how are you? I hope all is well in your world. Can you let us know where you are from, where you representing from tonight? And yeah, we will be starting shortly. Got a bunch of stuff planned for tonight, so it will be kind of fun to dissect the entire series now that we've finished the whole thing. Initially, we had only watched the first episode, and then we watched two through four, and then I watched episode five, and you can see the reaction to that on our channel. And that episode definitely got to me. If you saw the reaction at the end of that episode, it definitely got to me. So um then after that we watched 6 through 10 and we were able to see everything. So um we got a bunch of stuff planned for tonight. Like I said, we're gonna do some character breakdowns. I got some questions to ask and answer. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting evening. Breaking down this show that is the number one, or took the record for the most hours watched in the first week on Netflix. So that's pretty cool that they're having a success that they're having with this show, and it gives us something interesting to talk about. So, um, yeah, if you are in the chat or if you're watching, jump in the chat, jump in and say where you are from so you can represent your hood, as they say. um, Stevia, what's up? Hello, JD. Where's Katie? Katie is off camera tonight. She had a tonsillectomy, so she is recovering from that. She is watching the show and will be in the chat. So I am running solo tonight, trying to navigate this thing without her. It's like, it's weird. It's weird. 'Cause I'm used to looking over here and she's right there with half her face cut off from the box on the screen, but we won't get into that. But yeah, we will give it a little bit of time while we wait until we get a few more people in the chat, or see if anybody else is going to come in the chat. But yeah, glad to see you back, Stevia, for sure. And Andrea, you never told me where you were from, so I'm waiting. I'm waiting. If anybody has any opening comments about the show, we can dive right into that. Or any questions to ask me or Katie about our watching experience. So that'd be interesting. If you got those, drop them right now. Well, then, hello, Katie. Yep, off camera. She has a voice, technically, but it's just a little, it's a much lighter, and it kind of strains her to talk. So we don't want her straining her voice just for the stream tonight. So it's better that she rested. Hopefully she'll be back next week. We got a lot of stuff planned for next week, so hopefully she'll be back then. But yeah, this show has been very, very successful. I kind of heard about it last minute. It wasn't like it was one that I was really like looking for, but I had heard that they were going to be doing a sort of not really documentary, but a dramatization of Jeffrey Dahmer. And then I heard that Evan Peters was playing him, and literally heard that like maybe a day before the trailer came out. Then the trailer came out, and once the trailer came out, I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh. Well, even before I like fully watched the trailer, I was like, we gotta react to this. We gotta react to this because I got a feeling it's gonna be good. And saw the trailer and it was definitely creepy. Like really creepy. And it sold me on the show. Like I said, I'm a huge Evan Peters fan. Ever since his American Horror Story season one character, I really enjoyed his acting, and he's done some things for Marvel, which I watched a ton of. So yeah, I was happy to see him getting some shine in this show, and I had a feeling that he was going to do pretty well because he has a Jeffrey Dahmer is a very interesting person to try to portray on camera, and I was pretty confident that Evan was going to be able to nail it, and it seemed like he did. So it wouldn't shock me to see some awards coming his way. And you would think that somebody with such a flat sort of affect when they talk, and he doesn't show very much personality, that you would think that that would be kind of difficult because as an actor you would think that they want to jump in and be like, hey, this is like really show my chops, but being reserved and holding back a little bit is something that I'm sure he had to do, and that might have been difficult to pull that off on this show. Seems like Katie has all the fans tonight. That's fine. That is fine. I'm used to it. I'm just her. I'm her plus one. She's the show. But yeah, we're gonna get going in a second. Give it another minute or two, and then we will really get going. So yeah, if you're watching, thank you first off for checking out Watch Stuff with us. We do a bunch of reactions to shows that we like and shows that we found out that we don't really like. So check out our channel. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Make sure you like the videos that we put out because that's the only way that YouTube will know to show them to other people. So we've been having a pretty good amount of success over the last week, and it is definitely thanks to you guys for doing that, because there's no way we would have been as successful as we have been thus far without the support of people who are watching right now. While you wait to get started, are you continuing The Handmaid's Tale? Yes, I will be watching the episode tomorrow that just came out, and that will be uploaded tomorrow afternoon. I would say I'll probably watch it in the morning and then edit my reaction and then upload the newest episode. I'm crazy excited about that. I haven't seen anything about it yet. I've been sure to like avoid all the spoilers, like, because I don't want to be spoiled of anything with that show. So we'll see how Katie's doing tomorrow, and maybe she'll be able to join me. I don't know. Or if not, I will be rolling solo, but that will definitely be dropping tomorrow. So we got that one on deck for you. And yes, we definitely love Handmaids. Katie's asking if you guys finished the Dahmer series. Andrea's sweet. Vernon O, what is up? Good evening to you too. If you want to discuss where you're from, that'd be pretty cool right now. Let us know where you're from. Andrea, you still haven't told us where you're from unless you don't want to share it. But we'll wait for that real quick. Vernon is from Maryland. Dope. That's super cool. That's super cool. We are in Rock Island, Illinois. So that is about 2.5 hours west of Chicago. I'm from Chicago, born and raised. Katie is from this area. So it is awesome to have you on. And you're on Twitch. That's super cool. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, or was it follow on Twitch? I'm not exactly sure what it is. Also, follow and subscribe to us on YouTube too. And Vernon, I hope you're cool with the hurricane. I know some of the remnants might be hitting the Maryland area over the next day or two, from what I heard. So yeah, hope you're safe. Stevia is from Cincinnati. Nice. Have you ever had that Skyline chili stuff? I tried to make some for the Super Bowl last year because we got a tradition in this house that you make you have to have a dish from one of the Super Bowl teams each year. So we just started last year. But yeah, I made my version of Cincinnati Skyline chili. So I think it turned out good. It was a hit. So I don't know how authentic it was, but it turned out good. Hells yeah. Cool. That's cool. That is cool. And Andrew's from Tennessee. Nice, nice. I got family in Tennessee. Got family in Memphis. So that's pretty cool. Skyland really is fire. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. So let's get going. Um, and as I do this, you'll notice that I'll say like the little intro that we do for our show because I will be chopping this up into several videos to be posting on the channel too. So that's kind of how this is going to go today. On this episode of Watch Stuff with Us, we are breaking down a few of the major players in the Jeffrey Dahmer story on Netflix. What is up, everyone? I am JD, and today we are going to be talking about a few of the major characters from Netflix's number one show. I can't talk. Netflix's number one show, Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story. If you like what we're doing on this channel, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you are notified each and every time we are live or drop a video. Right now, we're live. If you're watching this after the fact, we aren't live, obviously. But as we go, we will be dropping the comments that we have from people in the chat. So without further ado, let's get started. Real quick, I'm going to go. Let's discuss Lionel Dahmer first, who is Jeffrey Dahmer's father. For me, after Jeff, this show was primarily about Lionel. And you got the most of his backstory. You got how he felt about things, probably more so than anybody else on the entire show. Like at certain points, I felt that the show was sort of from his perspective, from the outside looking in, and it was it was interesting to watch his sort of journey of realization of what he had in a son, his sort of stages, almost like stages of grief. Like he went through the whole denial phase where, oh, he's just a curious kid, all the way through to the end to sort of acceptance. And then at the very end, he was almost, or at least the show made it seem like he was profiting or trying to profit off of off of Jeff and everything that happened. So Vernon had a question. I wonder if the show is autobiographical or recreation based on real events. From what I understand, the show is based on true events. They've taken some liberties here and there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later because I have an article that discusses that and a video that discusses that as well. But from what I understand, they did take some liberties in making this an entertainment show and not a documentary. So yeah, it wasn't exactly 100% the way that everything went down, I'm sure. And they have some creative license that they took, but I believe that most of the show is true, that these things definitely went down the way that they went down. I think there was some embellishment and maybe some, theatrics placed in it, but on a whole, yeah, definitely was legitimately a show and legitimately based off real events. But yeah, getting back to Lionel. If you're in the chat, what do you think of him? But yeah, like I said, I really think that he was the true focus of the show. And really, you have to wonder how much of what he did and the way that he raised Jeff, how much of that contributed to Jeff turning into the person that he turned into. Because early on in the series, you could see Jeff as a child, and he was around his mom and dad, who seemed like they argued a lot, did not get along very well. Didn't seem like there was a ton of violence overall, but there was a lot of arguing and threats of violence. Like there was that one part in one of the episodes where the mom had a knife and pulled a knife on Lionel. So those sort of threats of violence had to have some sort of impact on how Jeff was raised and the Jeff's development of who he was. Also, we have to get into the whole roadkill thing and how Lionel had, I guess he was trying to find a common ground with his son. And most of us would pick something like, sports, or, TV, or movies, or, art, music, cooking, something that is more traditional, let's say. But I guess his son was inquisitive, and they found a sort of common ground at dissecting roadkill. So you have to wonder if that the feelings that he ended up having later on in his life, if they came from his wanting to connect and remember those good times that he had with his dad. At least that was one of my theories. That was one of my theories. Andrea says, I feel like Lionel had a lot to do with it. Yeah, I do too. I do too. I really do. I feel like he either knowingly or unknowingly molded Jeff into the person that he became, or at least played a large part in molding him into the person that he became. And we haven't even talked about how Lionel discussed at the end how he was having feelings of wanting to harm people, and he was able to suppress those things and keep himself from succumbing to some of the same urges that I bet Jeff had. So some of that stuff isn't just what Jeff picked up from Lionel and the times that they had. It was stuff that was chemically passed down to him as well, I'm guessing. Because as you know, mental health can definitely be passed down from your parents, or mental health issues can be passed down from your parents. Katie says, I feel that he failed as a father and should take a great amount of accountability for how Jeff turned out. Once everything was brought to light, he did. However, he had plenty of opportunities prior. Yeah, he did have a lot of opportunities. And I felt that he was in denial for a very long time. He really, 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 I don't know if he intentionally didn't see it, but he didn't acknowledge it. And he didn't want to take any onus in what happened with Jeff, especially during that time period when Jeff committed his first murder, when Jeff really felt alone. And that was one of the recurring themes of the show, was that Jeff stating that he was alone and that he didn't have anybody. So maybe if his dad was there, it would have prevented Jeff from making that first murder, where he picked up the hitchhiker and took him to his house and ended up, in a fit of rage, hitting him with the weight and, and eventually killing him. Vernon says, I didn't see it yet. However, I saw a documentary that stated his parents moved out and left him. Yep, just discussed that. Just discussed that. And if you haven't seen it, man, I really appreciate you for watching us right now. But we are going to totally ruin everything if you haven't seen it yet. So just be warned that we're going to talk about everything. And if you're cool with that, cool. And I mean, you probably, since you saw the documentary, you probably seen, you know the gist of the story. But I would definitely, if you had time, go back and watch it. It was definitely entertaining. In an interesting way, it was entertaining, not in a traditional, like, man, that was a really good show. Like, no, it wasn't entertaining like that. It was more thought provoking and interesting to watch as it unfolded. Andrew says, exactly. Yes, exactly. Stevia says, maybe it's just fictionalized, but Lionel expressing his murder fantasies and regretting not doing more taxidermy. Well, I just can't feel sorry for him. I think as a father, I feel sorry for him in that watching your offspring fail and fail on the most in the most spectacular fashion reflects on you as a parent. And I don't necessarily think that he was a bad man, but a lot of his actions did directly lead to Jeff being the person that he was. And I wouldn't put that on anybody to feel like, or to have them deal with having a child who did the things that Jeff did. So to that degree, I do feel sorry for him. I feel like there are so many things that he could have done to make the to make Jeff a better person, or at least attempt to. I would like to know what Lionel's parents did for Jeff. Like, how was his mom? And I know we saw her later on in the series, but like, how was he raised? Because I wondered if it was their intervention that kept Lionel at the point where he was only had the urges inside and didn't act on them. So maybe if Lionel had been a better parent, he could have kept Jeff. Jeff wouldn't have felt like he needed to act on these urges. He would have been able to suppress them the way that Lionel did. I don't know, just theory. Katie says Jeff was most definitely born to fight a tough battle in life with both his mother and his father's mental health traits passed on to him. But you can rise above those traits. You don't have to go dark. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You can rise above. I wonder sometimes if Jeff was able to, or felt comfortable enough verbalizing that he was having these issues, if he was able to explain that he was having these problems. I really don't feel that he had many opportunities to do so. And I think that's part of it. That's part of the problem. When your parents aren't there, or when they're arguing when they are there, as a child and as a young child, you don't really feel comfortable enough to jump in and say, like, hey, this is my problem. This is where I'm struggling, when there's just struggle all around you to begin with. So yeah, I can kind of think that that's really difficult for him to have found a spot to do that, and especially if he already felt like he was struggling big time. And being that young, it had to be hard to verbalize that and get that out. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about Lionel right now, Jeff's father, and just sort of a character breakdown. Let's call it that. Stevia says, "Yeah, I can see that, but what? But what?" I know, Stevia. It's hard to find sympathy for that family. Yeah, that was one thing that I did a lot of during the show, was that I went back and forth from empathy to sympathy to flat out having none of that and saying, "Oh, you guys were just the worst." And like I said in one of the reaction videos, that is a mark of a good show and good directors and good actors and good writers, that you can have so many different feelings throughout the show. And it was it was a roller coaster when it came to those feelings, and trying to resolve in my head, what was going on. Because the first thing that you want to do when you watch something, or when you read something, or when you interact with something, is that, and it's a bad situation, is that you want to place blame somewhere. And I felt that this show had so much blame to go around that it was hard to determine how you felt about each individual character, which is why I wanted to break them down tonight. Stevie or Andrea says, so true. And Jeff did what he did. He's ultimately to blame here. They kept blinders on, though, ignored all the red flags. You got that right. They ignored, or at least this portrayal of them showed them ignoring so many red flags. So many red flags that you think, like, how could you ignore that? And they had many opportunities to get him the help that he needed, that it was sad that it took Jeff going to jail the first time, or the county the first time, and his dad writing that letter and saying that Jeff needed some alcohol treatment, which, that was such an excuse to begin with saying that, oh, he has an alcohol problem. No, he has problems that are far greater than being an alcoholic. And it it sucked that it took Lionel even that long to realize that I need to reach out to somebody to get him help. And another thing that the show sort of shined a light on was that the prison system isn't the place to really get help. There are some prison facilities that give people the help that they need to make them better, but the prison system isn't really in the business of rehabilitating people, even though that's what they're supposed to be in the business for. They are housing people only, and you sort of sit there and do your time. This has come from somebody who's never been in jail, prison, anything like that. But from the way I understand it, and the way Jeff talked about it afterwards, was that being alone was probably the best part about it, and being there with his thoughts, because obviously nobody was talking to him or trying to help him process things or get him treatment. It definitely wasn't a treatment facility, and that's really what he needed. And it's sad that even at that point in time, it was probably too late, probably far too late to get him the help that he needed. Have a sip of my drinky drink real quick. Vernon, maybe my perspective is a little off, but I thought better of Lionel when Jeff was interviewed in prison and his dad was right there next to him. He didn't duck and run. Yeah, I think that some of the overtones that I got in the show was that his dad kind of enjoyed the spotlight a little bit. And I think that, see, this is the part where I don't know if that's true or not, or if that was just something that they played up for the show. I would like to think that he was there to support him. I would like to think that he was there trying to be a good dad, but the show kind of put it in my head that, man, maybe he was there because he knew that he was eventually going to write a book, and him sort of presenting himself to the world was going to help sell copies of the book. And obviously the book was not successful. If you watch the show, you can see the book wasn't successful. And I do find it kind of appalling to try to profit in any way off of the heinous acts that his son did. But yeah, he didn't duck and run. I do give him credit for that, to some degree. To some degree. Katie says, exactly. It was frustrating when he did try and reach out, especially in the diner, when his father totally brushed the convo aside and pushed him off to college. His father always changed the subject. Yes, he did. And it's hard to watch because you can see, like you said, you can see Jeff sort of reaching out and wanting that help, and wanting and sort of wanting to not only be held accountable, but to stop. There were portions in that story, I believe, that Jeff was recoverable as a person, but by the end, no, definitely not. And the times when he was recoverable, I think, were the times before his first murder, and then that, especially that 3-month period where he was by himself. If somebody could have intervened at that point, maybe they could have kept him from going off the deep end. And when he was a child. Stevia agrees with Andrea. Stevia says the police need to be held accountable. We will get into the whole police situation later on, but yeah, they definitely need to be held accountable. That was the negligence on their part was something that beyond frustrated me while watching, and it sort of mirrors society the way it is now. And you kind of feel like, or at least for me, I wondered if they had thought about like, man, we're gonna put this in there because of the current climate that we live in and the way that the the black community's relationship with the police has eroded even further than it has at that point. And it just goes to show that, that relationship that the black community has had with the police maybe has gotten a little bit better at this point in time, but it definitely was not very much. It definitely didn't get to the point where those underserved communities felt comfortable in the police that they had and that those people were there to help them, which is horrible. But we're going to talk more about the police a little bit later. Andrea says, I don't want to feel like that either, but I mean, the first thing he did when all this happened was write a book. I remember when all this happened and the book came out, I was like, really? Yeah. I don't remember it. I think I was like 13 or 14 at the time. So I don't really remember it clearly. I remember Jeff and people talking. I remember his name and I remember what had happened and I remember how he died. But I don't remember anything about the book or anything like that. But yeah, the book is a bad look, and it makes me like I understand how cathartic it was for him to write out everything. I think, but he should have kept that book to himself. Like you can write your book, just you don't need to publish it and try to sell it because then you change the entire perception of it and you look like you're just trying to come up, which was not good. Not good. Andrea also says, so true, Stevia. Oh man, it was disgusting. And I think that's in reference to the police being held accountable. So yeah, they definitely do need to be held accountable. And it was really gross seeing the cops that didn't do anything about the 14-year old child getting awarded for as police officers of the year after they had been suspended and had returned from their suspension. That was hard to watch, but sadly enough, not shocking, not shocking, which is it just shows you the state of police and our lack of confidence in them at this point that it wasn't shocking. If that happened today, it wouldn't shock me. It happened then, didn't shock me. It's just like, dang, that's sad. So I think we did enough talk on Lionel. Let's move on to his mom, Catherine. Catherine, I think, definitely had severe mental issues, which prevented her from being the best parent that she could be. That being said, to abandon your son the way that she did, she has to take blame just as much as Lionel does for the way that Jeff turned out. And like I said, I don't really like placing blame in this situation because I feel like there's so much blame to go around. But and I feel that she was so impaired that she probably couldn't. Maybe she was doing the best that she could. It showed early on that she had a lot of postpartum depression. Even when she was pregnant, she just wanted the pregnancy to be over. She took tons of medication. Like there's so many different things that could have turned Jeff into who he was and who he turned out to be. And it's really sad. But in her case, yeah, maybe she first off, instead of instead of being able to help Jeff, maybe she could have sought out the help that she needed. And then when she was able to get herself together, she would have been able to filter that down and get Jeff together. It seemed like she needed to be like almost like an intervention though. And it didn't really seem like Lionel was into that. He was more so into blaming, and he was off the scene a lot. And I'm sure that might have been for his sanity, but it definitely didn't do any favors to her or to Jeff in the end. Stevia says, if it's correct, Netflix didn't contact the families before the show, and they are now suing for damages, which they should if that's the case. Um, yeah, yeah, they definitely should be suing if they weren't contacted. I also think that it's hard when you are trying to produce something that's entertainment to be in contact with all the parties involved. If you're going to portray someone in a show, I think that they need to be compensated for that. Whether they have a part in the direction of the show or not, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but they should definitely be compensated for everything that they should be compensated because they were displayed in the show. Definitely should be compensated for that. Andrea says they gave that baby back to him and he died. Yeah, yeah, yep. So sad. Kay says, "Oh wow, Stevia. If that's the case, Netflix messed up." Yeah, and I mean, I understand a little bit about how the entertainment business works, and it can be a greedy, bad business for people when you have a situation like this, where it's already a touchy subject, and you are trying to profit off of it. So yeah, they definitely should be compensated for their stories being told in the manner that they were told. Um, and wow, we got some spam in the chat. That's awesome. That means we must have really hit like the big time if we got spam in the chat. All right, but yeah, Catherine was definitely not my favorite character in the show. Like there was a little soft spot, I think, for Lionel. And I don't know if that's because I'm a guy and I could relate to the whole father thing, but yeah, I definitely know that Catherine didn't really get that soft spot from me. And the one redeeming quality that I can say about her was that she at the end stood up for the fact that she did not want Jeff's brain, or no, actually she did. She wanted his brain to be like um dissected, which was interesting. And that was another point in the story that I was kind of surprised about. Like I didn't know that fact that there was a little bit of a battle over whether they were gonna, try to figure out what was going on. And I give her credit. Like I personally I would want answers too if there was a situation like that. I would want to know if scientists or anything could figure out exactly what was going on and why he was the way he was. But I do understand the point that the show is making too, is that if you continue to try to find these answers, it's just going to lead you down a path of more questions. So I get that too. Yeah, Catherine did wrong the whole time. Yeah, she kind of did. She kind of did. I think the brain needed to go. Oh man! So if we were in that courtroom, we would have been on opposite sides too. So yeah, I mean, I can understand either way. And then I mean, with the brain being gone or being disposed of, that was what Jeff wanted. Jeff wanted to have his entire body, destroyed. So how much of that do you should come into play too? This person who's done all these horrible things should he be able to choose what happens to his body in the end when he made the choice for so many other people and desecrated their bodies and defiled their bodies in countless horrible ways? At the end of the day, should he even be able to choose, what happens to his body? So, all right. Well, let's do another character real quick, and that is Glenda Cleveland, who is portrayed as being the neighbor who lived next door to him. From an article that I read, who, if we have a little time, we'll talk about that too. But an article that I read said that she actually didn't even live in the apartment next to him. She lived in a complex, sort of like across from across the street from him. So like she wasn't even in the same building. But I guess they sort of needed a almost like a hero type character in this story. And I know that she was the one who was there and called the police initially. So it did make sense. Well, initially when he had the 14-year-old boy. So I guess it did make sense to make her a little bit more intimately tied to the actual story. But yeah, I guess it does make sense. But then you get into the whole like embellishment of the story and stuff too. So, which isn't exactly cool. But Glenda, yeah, she was an interesting character. I kind of feel as though she tried her best to get things to happen and let people know that there were things going on that were completely horrible and inappropriate. So yeah, that's rough. Oh, real quick, Dave, what is up, man? Long time no speak, man. I hope all is well in your world. Dave is a former I guess I can call it, I guess, coworker. Yeah, would it be kind of coworker? But yeah, he me and Dave got to hang out a lot. He is a great person, and we work together at Arrowhead Ranch out here in the Quad Cities. So big shout out to Dave, man. Thanks for dropping in, sir. Um, but yeah, Glenda. Back to Glenda. Um, I kind of felt the way they portrayed Glenda on the show after the fact um was a little annoying too, in that, and I'm sure this is just for the show, and I don't know how Glenda actually felt about things, but they kind of made it like the Glenda show and like how affected she was by everything, and they told her story a lot. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Like, was she really that type of person, or is that just the way they portrayed her? I know one thing that was a point of contention when we were recording the show was if Glenda should have moved. And if financially it was feasible for her to do so, I think she should have. That makes me wonder why she didn't, if that was the case. But odds are, if she was in those apartments to begin with, she did not have very much money. We also discussed how or we had a commenter who said, like, it's expensive to break leases, and if you don't have a lot of money to be able to pay for that, you're kind of stuck. And in this situation, she definitely was stuck, or at least that's the way it seemed. She was definitely stuck, and I I definitely felt sorry for her. It has to be beyond frustrating to continually report to the police or whoever that this is going on and nobody is doing anything about it. And you're constantly seeing all of these guys go in there, and eventually you don't see them again, especially when it happened with her neighbor. And the I I don't know if they just did it for the show or not, but I was sort of yelling at the TV saying, "Why didn't she tell him not to like mess with this dude?" Like if I saw anybody and they were moving in, or like if I had a creepy neighbor or something right now, and the person who just moved into the neighborhood came over and talked to me, and if I knew that this neighbor was like super creepy, I would have been like, "Hey, don't mess with those people across the street. You see that house over there? Yeah, don't mess with them because they're weird. If they ask you anything, you just keep going the other direction. You don't want to have any parts of what they got going on." So I definitely would have done that. Like there's no way that I would have let something like that go down. So I wonder if in real life, in reality, if she did tell him something, but he did have still have those conversations with him. The most, I guess, like I don't want to say funny per se, but the most inadvertently funny part of this show was Glenda's conversation with Jeff in Glenda's apartment and the sandwich. Now I have to know, somebody has to be able to figure out if that part with Jeff trying to give her the sandwich was real. I really hope that was real. I really do. And Jeff's description of the sandwich as being pulled pork. Oh, that was great. There's no way. First off, I don't know how she let him in her apartment. Like, if I knew that this dude was, or I thought that this dude was killing people, I'm not gonna invite them in. No way. First off, no way. Second, once he comes in, yeah, I'm with her. There's no way I'm eating anything that this dude is giving up. Anything. I don't care what it is. It could have been the best looking sandwich that anybody has ever made. If it's coming from him in that apartment, nope. Nope. I don't eat at everybody's house right now. Like I will easily go over to somebody's house, and if I see something that's looking a little dirty or a little unsanitary, nah, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I don't want any of your food. And that's why I'm pretty meticulous about my house. And like we have pets. So like I have to make sure that the pet hair is clean, because if somebody's gonna come over to my house and eat something, I don't want them looking like, ooh, there's hair everywhere over here, because that is disgusting. But yeah. So one other thing about that, and like I said, I don't know if it played out this way or not, but Jeff's sort of like insistence on her eating the sandwich, that would have instantly made me be like, nope, not touching this thing. If anybody, like if I go over to somebody's house and they give me a drink or something like that, like I'm drinking a little something right here. Let me take a little swig real quick. But if somebody told me like, hey man, I got you this drink, drink it real quick, just drink it. Man, yeah, it's real good. Just drink it, try it. Oh, you not tried yet, man? Drink it. Come on, you gotta try this. It's so good. Try it, man. Do it right now. Drink it. If somebody is that insistent on me doing almost anything, I'm not gonna do it. No way, no way. So yeah, when he was like sliding the sandwich over and told her to eat it, no, no, Jeff, you need to get out of my house too, because there is no way. I like, yeah, there. If Glenda is who she was dumb for even letting him come into her house. She was dumb. That should have never happened. Never happened. But yeah, when he's trying to force the sandwich, you're not gonna force me to eat anything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's get to the comments real quick. Katie, right? If she actually did keep going to his door and chatting with him, she was either fearless or had a death wish. You got that right. There was no way, no way, no way that I would have been going to this person's house for anything ever. It would have been my goal to just call the police every day. That's about it. Nothing more, nothing less. I looked it up. He did try feeding sandwiches to neighbors. Oh no. So that's real. Mm, we released a short video on our channel earlier in the week that was a clip of us discussing if you would eat the Jeff Dahmer sandwich. So, everybody in the chat right now, or if you're watching this after the fact, in the comments right now, would you eat the Jeff Dahmer sandwich if he just passed you that plate? It didn't look bad. Like it looked like, I don't know if it didn't look like pulled pork to me. It looked like chicken maybe. But would you eat the Jeff Dahmer sandwich? Andrea says, "Yep, Katie. Yep." So I guess that is legit scary. Katie says, "Heck no." He didn't even add barbecue sauce. Nah, he had no sauce. It was a dry sandwich. It takes so much for me to not curse on here, and I know I can, but I like to make this channel and this show something that if you were watching this in the background with your kids there, that it will be okay, and they're not cursing every 2 seconds. So, but yeah, heck no, I'm not eating a sandwich. And yeah, he didn't have barbecue sauce. It doesn't matter what was on his sauce on that sandwich. If Jeff made it and it came from him, I got nothing for it. I can't do it. Can't do it. Andrea says, "No thanks, I'm good." Yeah. You're smart, Andrea. You're very smart. Please, if you're in that situation where you have a serial killer or a potential serial killer come to your house and offer you some food, don't do it. And he was just like frying up like body parts like they were steak. Like I didn't know which part that was. It just showed him in the frying pan that he had. But the weird the funniest part to me was him like pouring the olive oil in the pan beforehand. I was like, this dude is like seriously trying to chef this stuff up, and he's about to eat like a human heart or a lung or some sort of human meat, meat. Stevia says the convo between Glenda and the police regarding the 14-year-old was pulled straight from the transcript. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. It is. Well, it's awesome that they pulled it directly from there and that they were portraying that straight up. Like that's so sad, man. It's so sad. I couldn't imagine how it would feel to know that something bad is happening and so helpless that you can't do anything. You can't do anything about it. Yeah. Kay says, "I'm a vegetarian." Yeah. Yeah, I'd definitely be a vegetarian at that point in time. I'm not eating your sandwich, Jeff. No matter what you say, no matter what you got, I'm not eating the sandwich. Andrew's laughing. All right. So we dealt with Glenda. We dealt with Catherine, the mom. We dealt with Lionel, the father. And last but not least, let's do a little bit of a deep dive into Jeff. I think the big question is, and I want to ask everybody in the chat right now, or in the comments after the fact, do you feel like you should be, or were you sympathetic to Jeff in his situation, or did you feel sympathy for Jeff? Not empathy. Did you feel sympathy for Jeff? Did you feel sorry for him at any point during this show? As I said, I kind of waffled back and forth at certain points, all the way up until episode 5. When we got to episode 5, and I saw him take the deaf guy into his apartment. At that point, I lost all sympathy for Jeff. At that point, that's where he turned to strictly a predator, strictly a bad human being. I had nothing, no care, no sympathy at all for him after that point in time. And after that point in time, whatever happened to him would have happened to him. I wouldn't have cared. But up until that point, I did feel a little bit of sympathy because they portrayed him in a way that you kind of understood why he was doing some of the things that he was doing, and you felt bad for his circumstances. Like he was dealt a horrible hand from his parents. Bad genetics on both sides, horrible living situation, being abandoned at a time in your life where you really need your parents. I can't think that there's a time where you need your parents less, but those high school years are very important, as are the years when you're younger. And it seems like his life was in turmoil at home the entire time, and then he was just pretty much abandoned. And the show made it a point, and subsequent interviews I've seen have made it a point to say that Jeff was always looking for people to stay, and he wanted them to stay. And that was why he was trying to turn people into zombies, was that he wanted them to be alive and he wanted to interact with them to some degree, but he wanted them to not be able to leave, and he wanted to be able to control them. The mannequin that he stole was obviously what he wanted to make these actual people into. That mannequin that he laid on and that he stole from the store, they made it a point in the show and the way the show was edited to always show that sort of top down view where he was sort of like laying halfway on top of the body and sort of like cuddling with the body. And they first showed that with the mannequin. And the people that he had that he murdered afterwards, he always looked like he was trying to do that same sort of thing with them. Now, how you go from that to eating them, that's a whole different story. And I don't even know how or why that was going down like that. Katie says a little bit of sympathy when doing his work in the last episode. It was minuscule though. I don't like anyone being killed, and they made it seem like he was changing his ways as much as he could. Yeah, the very end, it looked like he had accepted religion and that he believed in God and he was baptized. And you just have to wonder how much he was really changing at that point. Call me a skeptic, but I didn't buy it as much as some people might. Some people, I think, in general, see the good in people. Me, I see the good in people, but I also really see the bad. And I feel like if he had gotten out of prison without have being rehabilitated at all, which it didn't seem like he was, even though he was going to church and stuff, he was not getting any sort of psychiatric help. So say somehow he was able to be released. I believe that he would have eventually committed murders again. It's just something that was in him and he got off on it. And like he always liked to say, the compulsion took over. Like the compulsion was too much for him. And I don't think that was going to change at all. Obviously, too little too late, but they made that episode seem a bit more emotional towards him with his baptism. And it seemed he was being kinder to others, not so creepy. He was being kinder to others, but don't forget that he was also being a jerk to people too, and playing up his getting fan mail and that he was a crazy person and setting the food, on the seat for the guy to sit on. Like, yeah, he was, as much as he might have seemed like he was trying to be kinder, he was still doing some stuff too. So I don't know if that was all before he got saved or what, but I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think that unless if you had told me that he had accepted God and had been saved and was also getting like intense psychiatric help, you might be able to sell me on the fact that he would be okay if he was able to be released. But outside of that, No way. No way. He was just going to go out there and be cool for 10 days, 10 months, 10 years, whatever. But he was going to relapse at some point and kill someone else, or at least try to kill someone else. I don't condone a single thing, but that episode did try to shine a tiny light on him being a more sympathetic person. Yeah. And it also seemed like he understood what he did and was willing to understood that he needed to be punished for the things that he did too. So, yeah, too little, too late. Thank you. I appreciate the applause. He was a jerk pre-baptism. Yeah. So before he got saved, I guess he was a jerk, and then maybe afterwards he had turned over a little bit of a new leaf. But I don't know. Either way, if you're watching right now, I appreciate you watching this character breakdown for Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you're notified each and every time that we go live for more breakdowns, reactions, reviews of all the shows that you care about right here on Watch Stuff With Us. I'm JD. Peace. So, if you're watching live right now, please hit the like button. Like, there's nothing, I'm not going to ask you to do too much other than comment on occasion and also hit that like button. We need to get the likes up, please. If you have not hit it yet, I'm asking you to hit it right now. Please, I will wait until we get these likes up because we need all the likes because you like me, you like Katie, so show us how much you like us. Hit the button right now. I'm waiting. I'm going to take a drink. Okay. So, where can we go next? Where can we go next? Okay, I got a real simple question. Real simple question. And I'm going to need your help if you're watching right now to answer this question. So let me do a quick intro and then we will get to it. On this episode of Watch Stuff With Us, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, burning questions. And the most important question to ask, who's really to blame? Thanks for checking out another episode of Watch Stuff With Us. I'm JD. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you're notified each and every time we go live. On this episode, we are discussing Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story on Netflix. And I have one question. And as you can see, this is a live stream. I'm also chopping this into videos. But for the people who are in the chat right now, who is the most to blame? We, on a different video, broke down each character, each of the main characters from the show. So, of the people that are the major players, who is the most to blame for Jeffrey Dahmer doing the things that he did, turning into the person that he turned into? Is it Lionel? Is it Catherine, his mom, Lionel, his dad? The police, who failed on several occasions to do anything? Or is it Jeff himself? That's my question. My answer is simple. I feel like I have a very simple and a definitive answer with this. So, like I said, if you're in the chat, let us know what you think. But my answer is simple. At the end of the day, a person has to be responsible for their actions. Jeffrey Dahmer needs to be the person who is the most responsible for his actions. He might not have known better, or he might not have known exactly how to be a good person, but he did know that the things that he was doing was wrong. He said that multiple times. He wasn't looking for forgiveness. He wasn't he understood that he should get the death penalty, or that the things that he did, he should die for doing them. I feel like deep inside he knew what he was doing was wrong, like I said, and he is the one that's most to blame for it. He had a bunch of precipitating factors that also made things difficult for him, but at the end of the day, it was on him. Somehow, some way, he could have stopped himself, I believe. So if I had to place blame, the majority of the blame would go on him. And that is not to say that there are not the other people who we discussed aren't very much to blame, but he is the most deserving of the blame. Let's go to the chat real quick. Katie says everyone failed. Yes, everyone should get a share of the blame, but I think that lion's share should go to Jeff. But yeah, everybody did. Everybody should take some of the blame. Everyone did fail. The police department did not do what they were supposed to do. They didn't follow up the way that they should have. They ignored multiple complaints from multiple people, and they could have stopped this well ahead of when it was actually stopped. His mom had her issues, mental issues, emotional issues. She could have been there for Jeff, but she wasn't. She abandoned him at a time where he was very vulnerable and needed her. And I believe that she played a huge part in him being the person that he was. His dad also, to some degree, abandoned him. He got him started in dissecting roadkill, which probably was not the best hobby for someone who has these types of issues. The one thing I can say about his dad is that he did try. That doesn't mean that his methods were correct or even effective, as they obviously weren't. But he did try at certain points. Not as much as he should, but he did try. So yeah, everyone definitely deserves a portion of the blame. Andrea agrees with Katie. Everyone failed. Yeah, sad but true. Everyone did fail. Stevia says, I'm actually more empathetic than sympathetic. I feel the pain, but I don't feel sorry. He was failed by everyone, but there's still no excuse. What was the cop's excuse? Oh, facts. Facts. What was the cop's excuse? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, if they had been in any way competent, they could have stopped this well ahead of the time that, all these people ended up dying. Well ahead of time. All it would have taken is one cop to do it. One person to say, like, you know what, we've gotten 30 calls this week, or 30 calls over whatever amount of time about this Jeff Dahmer guy. Let me go over there and check out, his house. Or let me go over there and see if I can talk to him and see if he seems like a normal guy. The first thing you would have noticed is the smell. Instantly would have been like, oh my God, what is that smell? Even before he opened the door. Then you would have got to the door and realized it was come from that apartment. That would immediately set off bells and whistles in my head. Like, what is going on here? But I guess there had to be some sort of caring on the cops' behalf to want to figure out what was actually going on. And I guess they didn't care at all. So yeah, that was gross negligence on their part. All it would have taken is just one cop, one person to actually care and want to make things better, which is beyond sad. Beyond sad. Ian, what is up, sir? Welcome back. Welcome back. I just watched episode 8 earlier, and it was insane how the cops who escorted the boy back to the apartment were brought back on the police force. Yeah, it gets better. Their story definitely gets better. So watch it all the way to the end, because there is more from those two cops. We dealt with a lot of spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you close your ears at certain points in time because we will be discussing everything that happened. But yeah, they do come back and you're gonna hear more from them. But yeah, it's it's a sad state of affairs when people who can be so embroiled in controversy in a controversial situation obviously showed some sort of negligence were allowed back on the force. And those are the people that are supposed to be protecting us. I understand that you can make mistakes, but there are certain mistakes that I don't think you can come back from. And for them to be, returned to the force after showing that gross negligence. And then the worst part, like you can say one thing about them not, pursuing the situation or not trying to make things better or not, taking the kid away. That's one thing. But then the comments that they made afterwards, which were legitimate comments, like they really said these things over the radio about needing to be deloused and all that stuff. Like that just shows the type of people that they were. So that really revealed who they were and showed that they were not good people. Sad. Sad. It's sad. And you don't want to be that person who is, against the police force. I come from a police family. I have several family members who are police officers and state troopers. And they're good people. And it's sad that you have guys like this that just make the entire police department. And like you think about this, and you think about that Milwaukee police department, like their whole department looks like crap. I'm sure they look like crap again. But yeah, thanks for joining us, Ian, man. Go finish watching the rest of those episodes after this is over, though. Katie, cops didn't want to do their job, didn't want involved. They clearly were uncomfortable being in that building, dealing with a situation with different races, different sexual preferences. Yeah. Like if you're there to protect and serve, it's not to protect straight males. It's not to protect straight females. It's not to protect white females or black females or whoever. It is to protect and serve everyone. And they failed that day completely. They failed their city. They failed the people that they are supposed to be there to protect. And nobody's saying that you had to come in and necessarily save the day, but you have to do more than what they did. At least investigate, at least try. It seemed like there was no one trying. Like they didn't want to deal with this being an underage kid. So they were looking for ways to excuse the situation, which is sad. Andrea says. Exactly. So many people would have lived. Yeah. It's horrible when you think about it like that. You think about how many lives could have been saved if somebody just gave a darn. One person. That's all it would have taken. One person to at least try, at least set off some sort of alarm bells, at least. But they didn't. So, who is to blame in this situation? Who deserves the lion's share of the blame? Leave your comment below right now. Should it be Jeff? Should it be his mom? Should it be his dad? Should it be the police force? Who deserves the most blame? Drop that comment below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so that you're alerted each and every time Watch Stuff With Us goes live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am JD. Later. All right, that is another one. So, Ian, Dahmer most likely exploited the lack of attention the authority gave, or the authorities give people of color. Let me say that again. Dahmer most likely exploited the lack of attention the authorities give people of color. You are 100% correct. That was brought up early on in the show too, where the guy who was the detective when they were interrogating Dahmer the first time, right after he had gotten arrested, he asked him if Dahmer was preying on these people because they were from, they were poor and from underserved communities. And Jeff tried to make it seem like that wasn't what it was about. Initially in the show, Ian, I felt like, yeah, he kind of was just doing his thing. And that these things were sort of happening, and yes, he was a bad person, but they were sort of happening around him. And I didn't see him as much as a predator. But watching the completion of the show by the end, and like I said, after episode 5, I really felt like he was a pure predator. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that these guys weren't going to be cared about as much, and the police weren't going to focus on them as much. Jeff tried to make it seem like, oh, they were beautiful. Yeah, they might have been beautiful, but these beautiful people also were from areas that the police weren't trying to help. And Jeff knew that. It's not like he was a dummy. He was smart. He knew that. And that's why he preyed on those people, because it was easy. And obviously after it happened a few times, it built his confidence that he could just do it. So if you knew that you could get away with it, why would you try something different? Why would you go to a rich and affluent neighborhood when you got crabs in a barrel right here? Made all sense in the world. Sadly, made all the sense in the world for him. Um, one other thing that I want to get into real quick, and we can make this another short episode too. So let me run an intro real quick. On this episode of Watch Stuff with Us, we are continuing to break down Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, and we have another question. Can a person be born evil? Thanks for checking out this episode of Watch Stuff with Us. I'm JD. Please hit that notification bell, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button so that you can support this channel and be notified each and every time we go live. So, like I said, we are breaking down Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. And this question is one that I thought about a ton as I was watching this show. Can a person be born evil? Or does their environment, their psychological makeup make them evil? So, if you're watching this live, please answer that question in the chat. I would love to hear what you have to say. If you're watching this after the fact, drop a comment below. I would love to hear what you have to say. So in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to give my answer to that question. If being born evil means that you have some sort of psychological issue that sort of predisposes you to having these negative thoughts like Jeff did, then yes, you can be born evil. In the classic sense, I don't think that you can be born evil. I think that your environment and the things that you're brought up in and around are what can turn a good person bad, or can take a person who is just a person and turn them bad or turn them evil. I think Jeff had so many different cards stacked up against him that it was almost predestined that he was going to be evil. But I don't think that he was born evil, if that makes any sense. He had his mom and dad who both had psychological issues, which was covered in the show. Moms were definitely outward facing. She struggled big time with depression, even from the point when he was born. The father also dealt with issues where he was having these thoughts of harming people and even made bombs when he was younger. Those things combined with them not being good parents and arguing in front of him constantly, the mom pulling a knife on the dad, those things along with the psychological traits from both the mother and the father being passed down are what created Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't think that Jeffrey Dahmer popped out the womb and was immediately just an evil person and just had, Satan, the devil, whatever you want to call it, just inside of him. No, I think that those people are created. He had the deck stacked against him for sure. But if he would have been raised with a family who was better and cared for him in a better fashion and tried to get him the help that he needed, I believe that he wouldn't have turned out the way that he did. Now, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't have ended up in prison. That doesn't mean that he might not have murdered someone, but I don't think he would have murdered 17 people. I don't think that he would have been the Jeffrey Dahmer that we all have watched in this show. I don't think so. Let's go to the chat. Looks like Andrea has a comment. I think in Jeff's case, it was sort of the perfect storm: genetics, environment, and eventually the drinking. Yes, that is something that I forgot to discuss a lot, is the drinking. And that played a huge role in it too. And, sadly, I think that we all know of people who are different when they drink. And you already have someone who's unhinged because of the genetics that were passed down from his parents. And then on top of that, the environment, like you said, that he grew up in, that just all contributed to him being the person that he is. And yes, that is a perfect storm of bad things that turned into one of the most evil people that has walked this planet. I can't think of a better description than that. The perfect storm. It really was. And it's so sad that, seeing him when he was a kid and the actor who portrayed him, and you have to imagine that, he was like that. You just feel bad for a child who has to see these things and grow up in a house that has these types of issues, and then to have the psychological issues on top of all that. Man, that's tough. That's really tough. But yeah, if you're in the comments right now and you're watching this video after the fact, can you be born evil? That is my question. Please answer that question. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you're notified each and every time we go live. I'm JD. Thank you so much for watching and rocking with Watch Stuff with Us. Later. Stevia asks, off topic, JD, what are you sipping on? Oh, man. I feel okay. So, first off, I used to have a show that I did with my guys called Jump Off Live. It was an amazing show. And I hate that we kind of we're still friends, but the show kind of fell apart. But that's the cup that I'm drinking, which isn't the question that you asked. You asked what I'm drinking out of it. It's actually tequila and a splash of some kind of random grape juice or something, like white grape peach juice or something that's in the fridge. I had to find something. I'm not really that big of a drinker, but it is nice to get off work after a long day, come out, chill, and talk to you guys and like do a show that I needed a little bit of something to chill out even more. Like it's fun. I really enjoy doing this. I love that, we actually have people who watch and who interact with us, like Stevia, Andrea, Ian. Like it's super cool to have you guys actually watch the show. Vernon, like it's super cool that you guys actually watch us because like I said, I've done multiple shows on YouTube and have never had like the amount of success that this show and channel has had. So this is really just the beginning, man. Like we really want to do this, and stay consistent and continue to do what we're doing now. I think there's even though the I guess I don't know what word am I looking for. There's a lot of channels who do sort of the same thing, but I think a lot of those channels sort of lose touch with who they are and they get to like cliche and commercial and it's just not fun. And I think that our show, like we're real people. Like I go to work every day. Katie goes to work every day. And we also do this on the side. So it's cool to be able to have this outlet and you guys make it possible for us to want to continue to do this via your support. So we really greatly appreciate it. So yeah, that's what I'm sipping on. Stevie, are you sipping on something right now? Katie can't really sip on anything because she had her tonsillectomy. And one more random question. I'm not going to do an actual episode on this, but do you guys, and I guess this kind of delves into religion and stuff too, but do you think he was saved? Do you think that Jeff was saved at the end of the day? Uh-oh. Got a special guest. Can you talk?
I can kind of talk a little bit. I am sipping on something. I had to interject.
Oh.
I got my sippy cup of water.
Oh.
And ice chips. So this is me looking at my finest right now. Never looked better. No makeup, no hair done. Wearing a regular tee. Got my cup still from the hospital.
But yeah, we miss you.
I know.
It's not the same.
I'm like in the other room just commenting, but my throat feels like it's on fire, so obviously I can't be on and talk much, but my fingers can talk for me. So hi everybody. You're doing a good job though, honey.
Oh yeah, I can talk. I can talk with the best of them.
Yeah.
I can talk with the best of them.
Yeah, but hi ladies, hi everybody in the chat.
Tito, what is up, my man? I was watching one of the shows that one of my guys does, Dave does earlier today while I was at work, and Tito was on there too. So, man.
Aww.
Much love, Tito.
Always all your great shows.
I know.
Always hops around.
I know. Much love, man. Much love. And yeah, I know. Definitely a typo. But yeah.
I'm gonna let you get back to it.
Yes. Love you.
You're doing great. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Love you.
All right. I see you soon.
Bye, friends. I'm gonna go back and talk with my fingers.
So yes, Katie is still alive. I didn't chop her up and put her in the basement, or yeah, I didn't make her into a sandwich or anything like that. There is one more thing that I want to watch with everybody, and this show is called Watch Stuff with Us. So how can we go an entire episode without actually watching something? For everybody who's with us right now, man, much love. Thank you for hanging with us this entire time. Whether you guys know it or not, we have done this show with no one watching. Like we've done episodes where nobody was checking for us at all. And to see the numbers that we have tonight, man, It is a blessing. Much love. Like, really appreciate each and every one of you guys for chilling with us tonight. So, let me get this set up. I think this is sort of ties back into what we did before, but there is a Watch Mojo video that talks about the top 10 things Netflix's Jeffrey Dahmer story got factually right and wrong. And we can sort of compare and contrast what the show actually talked about and discussed accurately and what the show did not. So let me get this set up real quick. Okay, got that set up. Gotta mute the screen audio. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and do another intro because this is gonna be a video too. On this episode of Watch Stuff With Us, we are reacting to Netflix's Jeffrey Dahmer. I messed that up. On this episode of Watch, now y'all get a peek into like how many times I have to do this. Normally I can get it on like the first take, but this time maybe it's the tequila. I don't know, but this time I didn't. So let me try to get this right. On this episode of Watch Stuff With Us, Netflix's Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, top 10 things the story got factually right and wrong. See, nailed it. Only took twice. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Watch Stuff With Us. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. It helps us more than you know. So please do it. Stop everything you're doing except for this video and hit that like button and the subscribe button right now. But on this episode, we are reacting live to a Watch Mojo video that discusses the top 10 things that were factually right and wrong in the show. So without further ado, we will get this started.
What's going on? Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, got factually right and wrong.
I'm really interested in this before we jump in. Like I saw this and I was like, oh, this would be perfect for the show because we kind of talked about it earlier in the live stream, but I really want to know the things that they took some creative license on. So I'm sure this is going to discuss those things.
For this list, we're looking at what was fact and what was fiction in Ryan Murphy's Netflix series about the infamous serial killer. Are you watching Dahmer? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. How Jeffrey Dahmer was caught. Right. Netflix's limited series about Jeffrey Dahmer begins with the night a would-be victim survived an encounter with the killer.
So that was right. Interesting. When I first saw it, I didn't think that they had embellished that a lot. So I kind of had the feeling that they did discuss that correctly. So it's kind of cool to see that they actually did.
On July 22nd, 1991, Tracy Edwards spent hours in Dahmer's apartment in fear, waiting for an opportunity to make his escape. And though the way in which he escaped is depicted differently in the series, Edwards did hit Dahmer and ran out of the apartment.
I hit him and I ran towards the door, and Mike was right there, tried to grab me, get me back in there.
2 police officers went to Dahmer's residence to obtain the key to unlock the handcuffs still on one of Edwards' wrists. Once they found explicit photos documenting some of the murders, Dahmer was apprehended, putting an end to his reign of terror.
The officers were stopped by an individual who claimed he was in the apartment and became engaged in a dispute with the owner of the apartment and left the apartment and called the officers.
Number 9. Dahmer wore...
That was crazy, though. I mean, even to begin with, even to begin with, like to the way they started the show was really unique. And I was kind of thrown for a loop because I'm thinking, like, man, like this dude, I thought that they were just like this was like the middle of his reign of terror, I guess. But for them to start the show at the end and him getting caught, because once the dude had like got out the apartment, I'm like, so this dude got away and he still was able to kill people after this, but no, this was the last person that he tried to kill. So yeah, it was cool to see that. It was cool to see. Well, I mean, not cool, but it was interesting to see that situation is actually legit, and that's really how it went down. Like it's crazy to think that like this dude could have been his 18th victim, but he was able to get away. Even during the show, like if you watch our reaction video, um, watching him, I kept like saying things like, okay, like you need to fight this guy. It's you versus him. Yeah, at some point you got to get away. Like you cannot let this guy get you, and he was able to get away. So good for him. I'm happy that that was the end of Jeff's murdering spree.
Yellow contacts. Right. One of the lesser known facts about Dahmer was his strange habit of wearing yellow contact lenses.
You see my contacts? They're just like the Emperor's. Got him at a costume shop in Kenosha.
He wore them because he felt connected to two dark characters in his favorite movies. The Emperor from Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and the Gemini Killer from The Exorcist 3. In changing his appearance to resemble these powerful fictional figures, Dahmer himself felt more powerful and predatory.
That I actually derives a sort of pleasure from watching that tape.
Did you like feeling evil?
No, I didn't. But I tried to overcome the thoughts, and it worked for a while, but eventually I gave in.
He repeatedly watched the films before he went out to find another victim to bring home, often making them watch the films with him.
What are you gonna do? Told you. We're gonna hang out and watch a movie. I'm gonna take some pictures. And I'll pay you.
Tracy Edwards also testified that while playing The Exorcist 3, Dahmer was chanting and rocking back and forth.
It was like a slow slur, like some of that nature, something close like that, I'm not sure.
Did it keep on for a period of time?
Off and on throughout the ordeal.
Number 8. How Ronald...
Man. So yeah, I'm one of those people that I enjoy a good villain in a movie. So I guess that is the only similarity that me and Jeff might share. But Emperor Palpatine from the Star Wars series and the dude from The Exorcist are not people on my list. Now, if you talked about like Thanos from the Avengers movies, like yeah, that's my guy. I mean, obviously you can see I got his glove back there. So yeah, that's my guy. But I noticed that he had the contact lenses on like the all the official like images. Like if you look at the corner of the screen right there, if you look at that picture up close, you can see that the eyes were yellow. But I didn't think that those were contact lenses. I just thought that that's what they were. It was just like a visual effect for the promotional material. I didn't know that dude was actually wearing like fake yellow contact lenses. Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. So I guess he was feeling the villains. I can relate a little bit on feeling the villains for sure. But yeah. So let's go to the next one.
Flowers survived. Wrong.
Jesus.
Don't worry, I'm not a cop.
Another survivor of Dahmer was Ron Flowers, who met him when his car broke down and Dahmer offered to help. He took him to his grandmother's West Allis residence and drugged his coffee. But Dahmer is interrupted when his grandmother sees that something is wrong with the young man.
If you take that young man to a hospital. What? He's just a little wasted, Grandma.
I will not have some stranger dying in my house.
He'll be fine. Just let him sleep it off. Jeez.
No,
Jeez.
something is not right here.
She is adamant about staying with the unconscious guest, making sure he gets on a bus the next morning. But her actual involvement in saving Flowers from her grandson has never been reported. Like in the series, Flowers woke up in County General Hospital.
Where am I?
You OD'd. You're lucky to be alive.
But what isn't mentioned is that he was also covered in abrasions and believed he might have been assaulted. He later testified that he didn't know how he got there, though the series provides a fictional scenario.
The guy I met last night, he was weird. He must have slipped something in my drink. Dude tried to kill me.
Number 7,
Dude, that's crazy. Now that's kind of shocking to me because I thought that was legit. And for them to just sort of like make that up, I don't know. Like that's a big creative license to take in a show like this, to just say like, man, okay, we're going to say that the grandma stood up for him. Oh man, that's crazy. And the fact that I guess maybe he just fought Jeff and was able to get away, and Jeff didn't track him down or chase him down. Like, that's weird. Like, I really want to know what happened now. Like, I hope this guy is still alive and somebody can get to the bottom of like how it happened. Or I guess the official story is that he just had the abrasions on him and he got away somehow. I really thought that the grandma had like stood up for him and really wanted to make sure nothing was happening. So it's crazy that that's like actually not true. Crazy.
Dahmer posed in yearbook photos. Right.
How did he get in there?
I don't know. Dan, how did you not catch this?
I'm sorry, I didn't see him in the
It's
photo.
your goddamn job, Dan.
The Netflix series mainly follows Jeffrey
So
Dahmer,
mad about
but
the yearbook.
a flashback to him in high school shows him sneaking into a yearbook picture for the Honor Society, despite not being a member. Yes, he actually did this, and his face was subsequently blacked out of the photo. My Friend Dahmer, both the graphic novel and its film adaptation, go further into the prank and the other club photos he infiltrated.
Excuse me, what do you... Oh, no. It's not really necessary.
Former classmates have described how his bizarre behavior in school quickly went from entertaining to concerning, given his heavy drinking.
And I remember sitting next to him in a first period, I believe, history class, and he had a styrofoam cup of scotch, I believe it was scotch. I remember saying, "Jeff, what is that?" And he threw his head back and he shook it and he said, "It's my medicine."
Number 6, Dahmer.
I got some medicine too. Not scotch though. Not scotch. But yeah, I mean that was a part that I wouldn't have suspected that was like fake, because it makes sense. That seems like something that he was doing, and he did seem like kind of a goofy type of dude to some degree. But I mean, like socially awkward for sure, but also did have that goofy kind of nature about him. So man, like it's like I really wish he would have had the right people in his life to keep him on the right path, because he might have been an interesting guy. He might have still been like kind of weird, but he wouldn't have done the things that he did. And yes, it's my medicine.
Killed Dean Vaughn. Wrong. In episode 7, Glenda Cleveland meets Dean Vaughn, a new resident of the Oxford Apartments.
Sorry I snapped on you. You just gotta be careful in this neighborhood.
I'm a good guy. Scout's honor.
She sees him talking to Dahmer in the hall and is visibly concerned. The series doesn't follow through with his story, but it does point viewers in a certain direction. However, Vaughn was really a tenant in the building. He was found strangled in his upstairs apartment in early May 1991. Dahmer was questioned about the suspicious death before he was arrested, and again when he was eventually caught. Both times he denied knowing him, and no evidence was ever found connecting him to the crime. As of 2022, the murder of Dean Vaughn is still unsolved.
And what about Dean Vaughn? You was talking to him in the hallway, then I never saw him after that.
Number 5.
That's crazy. Like I just assumed that he legitimately had killed that guy. I wonder if he did. I guess we'll never know, but I wonder if he did. But if he didn't, like, how did this guy end up getting killed, by somebody else in the same apartment complex that Jeffrey Dahmer is in? So yeah, I wonder if he did kill him or if he didn't, and who did. It's crazy that murder has still not been solved. Crazy.
Baptized the same day as John Wayne Gacy's execution. Right.
So you never done construction work before?
No. Well, like I said, it's just stuff around the house, helping my mom,
The beginning of the final episode doesn't open on Jeffrey Dahmer, but rather another infamous serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, aka the Killer Clown. In the 1970s, Gacy took the lives of more than 33 young men in Illinois until he was arrested in December 1978.
Gacy was the epitome of evil, and he was the epitome of being a great guy, which gave him the ability to be the most evil guy in the world.
For 14 years, the convicted murderer was on death row at Illinois' Menard Correctional Center, and on May 10, 1994, Gacy was executed by lethal injection.
John Wayne Gacy was pronounced dead at 12:58 a.m.
He got a much easier death than any of his victims. In my opinion, he got an easier death than he deserved. But the important thing is that he paid for his crimes with his life.
Meanwhile, in Wisconsin, Dahmer was being baptized by Minister Roy Ratcliffe. And, as it's briefly mentioned in the series, a partial solar eclipse also occurred that day. What does it all mean? We don't know, but this connection between two notorious killers is definitely eerie.
Congratulations, Jeff. You're saved.
Thanks. Thank you.
Number 4.
Another shocking part. Completely shocked when they started the episode with the Gacy thing. Well, first off, like I said, I'm from the Chicago area, so I was familiar with Gacy, after the fact. I wasn't born when he did his thing, but I was familiar with him, sort of after the fact. But the fact that he died the same day that Jeffrey Dahmer was baptized, which I didn't know about, and also there was a full solar eclipse that day, that's crazy. And that was another situation where I was like, yeah, I didn't question if that was fake or not, because there's too many things going on for them to just let's throw all these things together just for the sake of the story. It was so crazy that it had to be true, which is, turns out that's what it was.
Victim impact statements. Right.
I knew this was true. Especially the lady who snapped on him at the very end. I've seen that video before too.
The loss in the mental state he's put our family in.
One of the most heartbreaking parts of Jeffrey Dahmer's 1992 trial was hearing the impact statements. After sitting through the details of his crimes, family members of the victims had the opportunity to address the court. One of the more harrowing statements came from Rita Isbell, the sister of Errol Lindsay. The series recreates the emotionally charged moment with actress Deshawn Barnes, who embodied the palpable pain, anger, and sadness of Isbell in her performance.
Now, I don't want to ever have to see my mother go through this again. Never, Jeffrey! Jeffrey, I hate you!
And Dahmer's own statement took a lot from the real-life one.
That I did what I did, not for reasons of hate. I hated no one.
Number 3, Glenda Cleveland.
That stuff with the sister being mad, that was heartbreaking, man. And that anger is something that I could relate to. Unfortunately, I feel like if I was in a situation like that and, you know, I was there and I was given a victim impact statement, it would have came out more like hers as opposed to the other people who were able to keep their composure. Like I'm one of those people who can, you know, I keep it mellow like most of the time, but I always tell people don't let the smile fool you. Just because I got a smile on my face don't mean that that other side isn't in there. I just hold it down, keep it together all the time. But if there was something emotional in a situation like that, yeah, I would have reacted completely like she did, and I would have been one of those people who would have probably tried to go after him. So I can totally relate, man. Totally relate.
Cleveland lived at the Oxford Apartments. Wrong. In the series, actress Niecy Nash plays the role of Glenda Cleveland.
There's a sandwich.
Who is often overlooked in the Jeffrey Dahmer case. She interacts with him, mostly to complain about the smell and noise coming from his apartment through her vent.
I gotta say, that smell is worse than ever.
Is it?
The real Cleveland actually lived in the building next to the Oxford Apartments. The character is likely a composite of Cleveland and Pamela Bass, the woman who lived across the hall from Dahmer, who possibly unknowingly consumed human meat given to her by her neighbor. However, Glenda Cleveland did continuously call Milwaukee police after her daughter Sandra Smith and niece Nicole Childress told her about a boy they tried to help. Number 2.
So this lady that they just showed a second ago actually ate some human meat? There's no way. There's no way she didn't know that Jeffrey Dahmer was doing some crazy stuff. You got to be really hard up for some grub if you're willing to eat anything from that man. Like I said in other parts of this live stream and different videos, I don't care if he bought me the most juicy filet mignon and I hadn't eaten for 3 weeks. I'm just going to have to starve a little bit longer because I'm not eating anything that comes from him or that smelly apartment.
Milwaukee police officers returned a victim back to Dahmer's apartment. Right.
What the hell?
Sad.
Hey kid, what are you doing?
In late May 1991, some young women, including Smith and Childress, found Conorak synthesome stumbling in the streets, not in the Oxford Apartments hallway as shown in the series. They called the police to help the very young-looking boy.
He was holding on to me with a really, really strong grip, and he was trembling, he was shaking. So I just stayed with him, and I was like, I'm going to get you some help.
But when Dahmer came back to his apartment, he convinced officers Joseph Gabrish and John Balcerzak that synthesome was of age and his boyfriend. In the series, Cleveland is at the scene confronting police, trying to tell them that he was a minor.
Wait. You just gonna let him take this baby back inside?
Ma'am, he's telling me this is where they live. We're going to take him back inside.
Y'all don't at least want to find out how old this boy is first?
Ma'am, he says that's his boyfriend. We'll handle him here.
I'm really sorry about this, everybody.
Despite protests from the women, the officers escorted Dahmer and his incoherent boyfriend back to his apartment. When the police left, Dahmer killed him. Tragically, this poorly handled ordeal actually happened. After Dahmer's arrest, Gabrish and Balcerzak were suspended, but later reinstated. Before we continue,
Sad. Despicable. Stevie asks, where are the cops now? I would love to know where they are now. I would love to know. Like, that's despicable in the worst possible way. And I mean, like, if you're any type of person who has any sort of cognitive ability, you had to have known that something weird was going on. At the very least. I wonder if the part where they actually went to the apartment and stuff was legit too. Like, did that really happen? Where they went in the apartment but just didn't see everything? Like I said, the stench should have been enough to get some sort of investigation going. But nothing came of it, man. And lives were lost because of that. Sad.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Forget doing that for Watch Mojo. They got enough subs. Do that for me. Do that for Watch Stuff with Us. We're better anyway.
Number 1, Dahmer always wore his glasses at trial. Wrong.
Mr. Dahmer, before I impose sentence, I understand you have a statement you'd like to read.
Yes, Your Honor.
Towards the end of the series, Jeffrey Dahmer goes on trial for the murders. While the majority of the scenes are accurately recreated, there's one detail that was different. Evan Peters as Dahmer almost always wears the killer's trademark glasses. But the real Dahmer specifically did not wear his glasses throughout most of the trial. His reason? He didn't want to look the jury or victims' families in the face. Yes, it's a small inaccuracy in a largely true-to-life series. However, his decision to remove his eyewear is significant because it shows that he was unable to face his crimes.
Because I didn't feel accountable to anybody. I didn't feel that I had to face what I had done ever. And so you have. There comes a point where a person has to be accountable for what he's done. Can't go around making excuses, blaming other people or other things.
Did you enjoy this?
Yeah, I just took it for granted that he actually did always rock those glasses. I wonder why they went with that in the TV show, and that's not exactly how he did it. But interesting. Yeah, it was one of the details that I wasn't sure of. Well, yeah, those were 10 things that were in the show, and Watch Mojo was able to break down if they actually happened or not, and you were able to watch them with us and see right along with us if they were or not. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you can be notified each and every time we go live like we are right now. Or you might be watching this after the fact, but we go live every Friday. But thank you so much for checking out our channel, and thank you so much for watching this video. Hit that like button, subscribe, please. We're begging you. Now, do it. I'm JD. Later. All right, let me go back through the chat real quick before we end this, because I've been on a little bit over 2 hours now. Wow. This is fun, man. I love this. I really do. I can't wait till we get even more people watching this channel. We got a lot of things planned. Once we grow the channel a little bit more, we want to do more fun things on these Friday live streams. Do a lot of like fail videos, react to just funny and fun stuff. Even if we can, get some of you guys on the chat or on the chat, like on video with us if you want to be. And yeah, just have more fun with this. It's kind of hard to do in the beginning, as far as YouTube's algorithms go, because you kind of have to like box yourself into this little box so that they know what they can like give people ads for. So basically, we can only really talk about movies and TV and stuff right now. But as soon as our channel gets a little bit bigger, we're definitely gonna have fun with these live streams, man. This will not always be as hard hitting as it is right now. We are going to try to enjoy this as much as possible and have fun along the way, because that's what this channel should be about. It should be about fun. Let's see. Stevia says, does anyone think the John Wayne Gacy cameo is a hint to a future series? That was the first thing I thought. The first thing I thought when they did that is that, oh my goodness, like these guys are brilliant and they are teasing the next series like in the middle of this one. And like it's kind of creepy to think about it like this, but like almost like you're building a serial killer universe. Like I think of everything like in Marvel terms. So like, they built the Marvel Cinematic Universe by having these like individual stories, and then eventually it all came together. Like I know these guys aren't going to come together and like be some like mass murder or something like that. But they had these post-credit scenes all the time where they tease other things that are going to happen. So yeah, when I saw that, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, shoot, they're gonna have a John Wayne Gacy series. And I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't be interested in watching it at this point. If it's as well done as this one was, I would definitely like to check it out. And John Wayne Gacy killed like what 30 people, and he dressed as a clown. Like there's definitely a lot to delve into there, I'm sure. So yeah, Stevie, I think you are on to something. Andrea agrees. Could be on to something. Yep. Katie says, I saw something on Netflix about John Wayne Gacy tapes. Yeah, they're actually going to have some Jeffrey Dahmer tapes that are going to be released like in another week or two, maybe, or is it next week? Something like that. But yeah, so this definitely isn't the last of both of those serial killers. I got a feeling. And I didn't know that the true crime stuff was so popular. Like that has been one of the main reasons that our channel has grown so much is the videos that we've been posting about this series. So we're definitely going to keep doing it for a little bit of time. There's only so much of this stuff you can handle, but yeah, we're going to ride the wave right now for a little bit, but we definitely will be getting back to some of our other stuff starting tomorrow. Like I said, Handmaid's Tale. I got some other stuff that I recorded already too. Like I did a trailer reaction to The Last of Us show that's going to be coming on HBO, which is a video game adaptation of a game that I played most of, and is a very good video game series. So really looking forward to doing that and releasing that video over the weekend as well. Let me stop sharing this screen and get back to my other screen. Okay. Yeah, so and like I said, been on for a little bit over 2 hours right now. And I guess we're gonna have to shut it down a little bit. I haven't eaten, but like I need to get my dinner. I'm just gonna sit right here and just hit me a little bit because I haven't had enough food. So turn this down a little bit. Got it banging too much. It's supposed to be background music. So yeah, like this has been a blast. I would like to personally thank each and every person who has come in on this stream tonight. Each and every person who dropped a comment, each and every person who hit that like button, each and every person who subscribed to our channel today or any other day over the past 2 months that we've been doing this channel. We're already over 100 subs. Trying to get to that 1,000 mark. That is the goal. That is the ultimate goal in all this, is get to that 1,000 mark. So just a huge shout out to everybody who's been rocking with us and supporting us. Everybody in the chat tonight, much love. I love you. I really do. And we can't do this stuff without you guys. We really can't. And it's no fun to just talk into a vacuum and talking to a camera with nobody interacting with you. So I'm really glad that you were able to rock with us today. And if you're watching this after the fact, thank you for watching anyway. Our live streams are every Friday, 7 p.m. Just put this on your schedule with everything else. Every Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time. And we'll run for a solid hour and a half, 2 hours, more if we having a really good time. So yeah, all that being said, man, really appreciate you for hanging out with us. If you haven't done it yet, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you are notified each and every time we go live or we drop a video or we're doing anything. I'm JD. And like I said, much love. Much love. Katie's on the other end. Hopefully we'll have her back by this time next week. But she's been rocking in the chat with us tonight. So again, much love. Have a great night. And we will see you when we see you. Stevia, Andrea, much love, guys. Peace. Leave a comment too. Later.